Hello, I'm Lewis Daniels, and this is Transplant Hub Conversations. Today I'm joined by Gordon Rutty, a lifesaver following altruistically donating a kidney, and fresh from his walk to end the wait for Transplant Australia. First of all, I'm sure everyone watching is thankful for what people like you do in selflessly donating your kidney to save someone's life. What led to you making the decision to donate a kidney, and when did you actually donate?
So originally, my sister-in-law, her brother donated to one of their sisters. That was probably 25 years ago now. That was, and when that happened, I just remember, I thought, what a great thing to be able to do for someone, and I thought I'd love to do that for someone one day. And at the time, I said to my wife, why don't I do that? Because we didn't have any, I didn't have anyone, family member that needed a kidney, but I thought I'm healthy. Well, I believed I had two healthy kidneys. I could live with one. I saw my, my sister-in-law's brother, living a perfectly normal life. And yeah, but Karen wasn't so keen. A couple of reasons. She didn't want, obviously, to put me at risk by having an operation. And she said, well, what if one of us need it one day? And, my kind of attitude to that is I'm a bit of a universal thinker, the law of attraction type, I said, well, if I gave my kidney to help someone and then we needed one, it would come, we'd find it, I said that would be fine. But it didn't happen then. And then later on, I had a friend that she donated her brother. That was probably 5 years later than that. And again, I thought, wow, so good. Because she told me all about the experience and, how great it made her feel. And so again, I mentioned that to Karen, my wife, and she said, no, don't do that. You can't do that. And then, but I lost a close friend. It wasn't to an organ failure. It was to a brain tumor. And then I kind of made my mind up at that point that there was something I definitely wanted to do. I couldn't save Josh, but there's somebody out there that I can help. But I didn't kind of act on it straight away. And then it was only a few years later, I lost another friend, this time to, it started as esophageal cancer, but then went down into his liver. And it was at that point when Craig passed away. So Josh had passed away, Craig had passed away. I just said, that's it, I've got to do something. And Karen knew how adamant I was about my decision, and she supported me then. I live in Queensland in Australia, which is a state that you're not allowed to do an altruistic donation. So I had to go to New South Wales to do that. So I got connected with a doctor down in New South Wales and Transplant Australia, and they helped me through that process. From when I made the decision and started my investigations, it took about 2 years with all a lot of physical tests, psychological tests. They want to make sure that you're doing it for the right reasons. But I passed all those tests, and it was into December of 2011 I got the call, and they said, we found someone. The good thing about being a living donor is there's no urgency, so they can take the time to find the most compatible match. And so that's great obviously for the recipient, because they've had time to go, okay, well, let's find somebody who's going to be the perfect match for them. It was in the January of 2012 that I went down to Sydney, and I had the operation, and the transplant was a success. It was a great experience. I remember I had as I was going in, they had me all prepped. I was on the bed, and I was about to go in and get the anesthetic, and a young one of the student doctors came in and said, do you mind if I come into the operation? I want to write she had a thesis she had to write. She said she wanted to write it on what I was doing. And I said, sure. And she came in and visited me the morning after, and she had photos of my kidney, and she was telling me, she was there when my surgeon took my kidney out, and they got taken over to the other surgeon when he put it in. And she said it was just like the minute they hooked everything up, their bladder started to, or the kidney started to to produce urine, which it hadn't been able to do for, in that person's body for many years. And so everything was great.
Credit to you for donating. I'm someone who's personally benefited from living kidney donation. Thanks,
Oh,
Mum.
wow.
So
Awesome.
to hear people like you doing it for someone who, to hear people like you have done it for somebody you don't know is so great to hear. Do you actually know anything about the person that you donated to?
I didn't know whether it was male or female, adult or child, but they did allow them to send me a thank you card, which was really, really great. So from the thank you card, I know that they were a parent. I still don't know whether it was a mum or a dad, but I know it was a parent because they said, that for the last 5 years they'd been on dialysis. They hadn't been able to, really interact with their kids and play with them as they would have liked to. But now they're in a position where they're basically normal and they can go and do all the things with the family that they want to do. So I still don't know whether it was mum or dad, but that was great to get that card.
How did it make you feel when that came through?
Oh, it was overwhelming. It was very emotional to get it. To this day, I still think it's the most rewarding thing I've ever experienced in my life.
How did your friends and family feel about your decision to donate a kidney?
A lot of them didn't really understand why I would want to do that. They thought it was, they obviously they thought it was a great thing, but they just couldn't imagine doing it themselves.
For those who might not be aware, could you explain a bit more about what the surgery contains, what it entails?
Well, it's done through keyhole surgery, so it's not like in the old days where you end up with a big scar in your back. I had, I think it was 3 tiny little scars that I've got, and basically below my, the waistband of my undies, so you can't see it. And the way they do it is they lay you kind of sideways on a bed, kind of bend over like that. And as they do the surgery, they fill you up with gas, so they blow up your abdomen. They move, all your organs at the front out of the way so they can get in behind to get the kidney out, and they pull it out, let's say through up, and literally, the scars from the surgery are like, that long. So very, very tiny scars. And then they just kind of put everything back into place and stitch up those couple of little holes, and and then they move the kidney to another room, and there's a different, I have my surgeon, and then the recipient has their own surgeon to do the actual transplant into them.
I think that'll reassure a lot of people who might be thinking about donating but are a bit scared, even if it's to a relative, like it was in my case. My mum described the scars that you mentioned there, and I think the surgeon did as well, as like stab wounds. They're really not that big.
No, they're not big.
Not that noticeable really either. For you, what was the process like physically, mentally, and emotionally leading up to the transplant? And then how was the recovery process after?
I honestly, I was quite excited about it. I was looking forward to it. It's something, it was something I'd thought about by that time. Then it would have been, at least 10 years that I'd been thinking about it and wanting to do it. So I was excited. I don't remember any anguish about it. I think in my mind, I was going to, change someone's life. So for me, that was very, just an amazing, fulfilling, opportunity.
Your attitude and outlook on it is great to hear. Would you encourage other people to go through with donating a kidney?
I absolutely would. I mean, I definitely. Like people think they can't understand why I would do it. I kind of have the same feeling, saying, why wouldn't you want to do it? To be able to do that for someone is, I'll say again, to me, it was so rewarding. I can't think of, anything else that I've done in my life that, has made such an impact on somebody. So I guess it's hard to describe till you've done it. Just how, it's special. It's special. Even though I don't know the person, or I don't think I'll ever meet the person, you just know that someone's life is better.
Recently, you took part in a challenge called Walk to End the Wait to raise money for Transplant Australia. Tell us more about what that involves and what was your training like?
Lots of walking. It was Christmas. It was actually Christmas Eve last year. I had, because I'd done some things for Transplant Australia in the past since my donation, but I hadn't done anything for a while, and I'd been planning to do something. And it was Christmas Eve, and I rang Chris and said, "Chris, I've got to do something." I said, and Chris is the CEO of Transplant Australia. I said, "I want to walk to Sydney and raise some awareness for Donate Life Australia. Because we just need more registered donors here. We've got, people. Research tells us that 70% of Australians say, 'Yep, I want to be a donor,' but only 30% of them are actually registered. So that's a problem. So we've got, we're only a small country, and we've got about 2,000 people at any one time on the waiting list, and 2 people die every week waiting. So it's, and that I just saw that as something we actually have the capacity to change that. We have the capacity to get rid of the waiting list. If all those people who say, 'Yep, I'll be more than happy to be a donor,' get themselves registered, tell their family that's what they want to do, then we can make a big impact on that. So it was my way of going, well, let me get out, hit the street and spread that message. So it was supposed to be walking from the Gold Coast to Sydney, which is about a 900-kilometre walk, which was planned over a 2-week period. So the training leading up to that was, just lots of walking. I'm also doing a challenge here on the Gold Coast. It's called the Kokoda Challenge, where we walk 96 kilometres in a day through the hinterland, through, mountainous stuff like this. So I was training for that as well at the time, which is all good. So it all kind of meshed in, but the training is really just lots of hours on your feet, walking and walking and walking and walking. So I didn't get to Sydney because they went into lockdown. So I got halfway to Sydney and said, well, I'm not going to stop the walk. So I turned around at the halfway point and walked back up home, which in hindsight was awesome, because whilst it would have been great to walk to the Opera House in Sydney, walking back home to lots of friends that were waiting for me was so good. It was very emotional coming home.
How do you mentally prepare yourself for such a tough challenge like that?
I guess for so many years now, I've been kind of training myself to, just to be positive, just to kind of look for the positive in everything. And I just didn't struggle very mentally preparing for it. I just, it was like donating my kid. It was something I knew I wanted to do, and rather than be concerned about it, I was excited about it. In hindsight, I probably should have been a little bit more concerned about it. It was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. But once you're in there and you start, you just go, well, I can't stop now, even though some mornings you got up and went, I don't know if I can take another step. My family came as my support crew, so everyone was there. They'd meet me for lunch break, and then we'd meet up for dinner, and Karen would bandage my feet up and help me look after the blisters. I never thought I was going to get the blisters that I got, because I do lots of training and running, and I don't normally get blisters, but I got a blister that made me feel sick. And the second day, emergency room at a hospital, they dressed it all up for me and suggested I buy a pair of sandals. So I went to the shoe shop and bought sandals, and I wore sandals for the rest of it. So I did about 800 kilometres in sandals and socks.
You've mentioned the challenges of the lockdowns hitting and blisters that you got along the way. What did you learn about yourself throughout the walk?
Just learning that, when you start and you think, okay, I've got to get to X point. When you're driving, it feels like, to drive 300 kilometers is, it might take you 3.5 hours to drive 300 kilometers. You go, okay. When you got to walk, when you think about that first 300, you go, man, that's That's a long. It is actually a long way when you get up each morning and you start walking. But you just go. If I just keep taking another step and another step and another step, you're going to get closer. So, and it's like a metaphor for, for goals that we might have in life, ambitions we might have in life. They, if we try to think of the, everything all at once, it can be overwhelming. But if we just go, well, let me just get, this next hour out of the way. So I'll put on some music, I'll listen to some music, and just walk and try and distract myself from the pain of stepping on those blisters, and just keep moving forward. Like it's people say it all the time. A journey of 1,000 miles starts with one step. And then it does. It starts with one step, but then you take another step and take another step, and eventually, you're there.
It takes a lot of mental strength to complete a challenge like that. Do you have any techniques that you use or would recommend people to use to maintain a positive mindset?
I like doing affirmations every morning. And when I first started, it was even for me, it felt a little bit weird, saying, today's a wonderful day. I'm eager to uncover what this day has to offer. All that kind of stuff I say, and I only do it for about 5 to 10 minutes each morning. But it's amazing the difference it makes when you feed your mind with positive thoughts. The very first thing in the morning is what I do. I set myself up for the day. And the other thing I do, when I wake up, I don't kind of lie there and contemplate and procrastinate. It's just, when you wake up, just get up and move. Movement is the most important thing. The longer you lie after you wake up, the longer you lie around and you don't move. It just allows, it allows negativity to come in if those thoughts are there. Motion is the quickest way to change and create emotion in us. So, I love moving and taking action first thing in the morning. Starts me off on the right foot. And it's like a snowball, when, it just feeds more and more of the same.
What are your highlights from the walk to end the wait? And do you know how much money you raised for Transplant Australia?
So far, we've raised 25,000, but I haven't finished with the fundraising yet. Wow. Highlights for me of the walk was just the amazing support I had from family and friends. Like I had, that night, that day that blister ruptured on my heel. Even though I went to the shoe shop and I bought a pair of sandals, they were quite hard. They weren't really suited for the trip, but it got me to the next town that I was going to. And that night, so I was already, what would I have been? I would have been 150 kilometers from home. And before I got into the second stop, friends from the Gold Coast heard about what happened to me. So they went to the local adventure store, bought the absolute best hiking sandals that you could buy, and drove down. And they got down at about 8:30 at night, Saturday night, dropped the sandals off to me, and then drove back home. And I put them on and they were soft and it was like walking on a cloud. So that was a highlight for me to have, someone, be, caring about me like that and coming down and bringing that. A few days later, I was in another town. This time I was about 300 kilometers away from home. And I got invited to have a chat at one of the local high schools. And as I was sitting in the office reception, two more mates rode their motorbikes down that morning to come and see me, to see how I was doing. And, that was so good. So just that had happened a lot, where friends they drove, hundreds of kilometers to come and walk with me. One friend came and he walked, 2 days with me. Another one came and he walked a day and a half with me. Another one came and did the same thing. And so it was really good. The highlights for me were yeah, just the support and so many messages, like, through social media.
It's nice to hear how much support you had, and it shows how important it is to have a strong group of friends and family around you
Mhm.
to keep
Yeah.
pushing you forward. Have you got your sights set on any other challenges?
Yes. Because we got, as you obviously well aware, that the World Transplant Games are in Perth in 2023. So I've said to a couple of people, what I think I'll do is I'll ride this. I won't walk to Perth. That's a very, 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 very long way. But I think I could ride my push bike there, and I think that'd be a great challenge for me to do that. But then also another opportunity to get on the road again and raise some more awareness while I go. The idea would be to compete at those games as well, because I'm obviously eligible to do that.
I think it's great the amount of awareness that you're raising and the effort you're putting in to raise more awareness for organ donation, and hopefully that brings in more people to donate organs to other people, whether that be to people they know or altruistically like you've done. Finally, are there any messages you'd like to pass on to the people watching this?
If I can encourage people of one thing, is to say yes more often. Say yes to opportunities, say yes to contributing to others. Life is so much more fulfilling when we say yes. And I say to people these days that's life begins after we say yes to it.
There we go, some wise words there. Gordo, thank you so much for coming on for a chat. You're a real life hero for donating a kidney. Thank you very much for watching. I've been Lewis Daniels, and you've been watching Transplant Hub Conversations.